San Jose Sharks prospect Carson Wetsch signs his ELC and will be in San Jose next year.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is JD Young, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. And on a special episode today, we're going to be discussing Carson Wetsch, who signed his ELC. We'll talk about where he fits and kind of what I expect for him. And then, of course, we'll kind of get to know Carson Wetsch and the season that he had playing with Kelowna this year. So let's get started with Wetsch, who was a former third-round pick in the 2024 draft. So he's 6'2", 201 pounds, right-handed shot, plays right wing, played a little bit of center, kind of mostly out of need, but he's, definitely a right wing type, or a wing type of player. Kind of big boy, power forward, heavy hitter type of guy who this year played with, was traded actually this offseason from Calgary to Kelowna. So Kelowna is they are hosting the Memorial Cup, and they automatically get a bid. So whenever teams like that get that automatic bid to the Memorial Cup, they load up on players. And Carson Wetsch was one of the moves that they made this offseason, where he wore the C for them, stepped in, wore the C. He also wore the C for the Calgary Hitmen the year before, playing, for that team as well. So this is a very much a great locker room guy, leader type of player that the Sharks are signing here. With Wetsch, there was a little bit of a decision to make, because if the Sharks did not sign him by June 1st, they would lose his rights, and he would have gone back into the draft pool, where he would have been eligible to sign or to get drafted by another team and potentially sign with them. If Wetsch had decided to go with the NCAA route, that would have kicked the can down the road when they would have potentially signed him. But the Sharks and him decide to forego college and have him start his professional career. So what type of player are you kind of getting with him? So before we get to that, so this season, he played 65 games with Kelowna, 22 goals, 50 assists, 72 total points, 80 PIMs as well. Then he also had 4 points in 8 playoff games for them. The production, bit of a jump from the year before, where in 68 games with the Hitmen, he had 33 goals, 20 assists, and 53 total points. And he had 6 points in 11 playoff games previously, but a little bit of a different role this year for Wetsch. So last year, the Hitman, he's playing like first line minutes, was kind of looked to as one of the leading scorers for that team. This year, played more kind of on the second line with them, especially because they had Ginla, who was a former first round pick, himself, right? And Ginla had 41 goals, 49 assists, and 90 points in 48 games. Like, Ginla just went absolutely nuts this year as a Utah pick, right? He was a first round pick in that same 2024 draft. Really went off this year and is expected to do great things for Utah, right? So a little bit different role, right? Not kind of getting all the prime scoring opportunities in the prime, kind of first line minutes this year. But was still second on the team in scoring. And again, like the goal production dropped a little bit, but the points did definitely go up for him. Is the type of player, though, who plays in all situations, right? Can play on the PK, can play on the power play, is great at 5-on-5, has a solid shot, but like he's kind of known for he's a big boy who plays big boy hockey, and is a type of player where like he'll mix it up if he needs to. Again, with the 80 pims, like he's not afraid to kind of mix it up and get in there, and kind of leads by example. That is the way that he plays, and he's a very consistent player. Even going back to his time with Calgary the previous season, where he doesn't go through a lot of like dry spells when it comes to production. Like he's, one of those players, or it's not like he's going to like score a hat trick and then he's off the score sheet for like the next week or so. Like he's one of those just kind of chips in every night player, which is what coaches want, right? You want a guy who's going to consistently perform and consistently be productive for you. So, Wetsch, I think is right. One of those players who I think could have potentially used some time or could have easily have gone the NCAA route, but I don't think for him going to the pro level and playing in the AHL next year, I don't think it's going to be a kind of a big jump for him, especially with the style that he plays. So it's kind of a little bit just kind of no nonsense up, kind of straightforward hockey. I think he's pretty strong along the boards. Again, he's like, he'll get in on the forecheck, like he'll get to the dirty areas. He's not a player who I think is going to have any issues. And even if you go back to from Elite Prospects, if you go back to his draft guide, right? The kind of his elevator pitch, a north-south checking winger with an NHL shot, thunders hits and tools become a true power forward. They talk about where, this is again from the reports, where he has some tools to become a middle six power forward, but he's going to need to add more to his game. And then they go on and say he probably projects as a bottom line player, but he has a speed, shot, and hitting to be a special one with a chance for more. And there's a lot of development ahead for Wetsch, however. So, right, again, like this is a third round pick. You're looking for guys who have traits. And I think there's a player who can move. He hits, and I think he's going to quickly become a fan favorite. So let's talk about where he fits with the Barracuda next year and kind of where he fits with the Sharks long term. We'll get to that here in just 1 second. The hunt for the Stanley Cup is on, and now you can trade every game on Kalshi. On Kalshi, you can trade every single playoff game, every series, the conference finals, and the championship. Right now, if you like Colorado to finish off their series, they're trading at 66 probability to beat the Minnesota Wild, meaning a $100 trade pays out $152 if they win the game. As the playoffs heat up, these numbers move in real time, and you can buy in and out at any time. On Kalshi, you're trading as peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. The probability changes. You can buy in and out of your position. And for a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade 10 Kalshi, Kalshi, trade on anything. I have a sweet tooth. You probably have a sweet tooth as well. But finding that perfect treat without all the sugar can be tough. That's where Cotton Candy's 5-Hour Energy Shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. It's that classic cotton candy taste you remember, but with a tasty caffeine boost and zero sugar. It's a quick, easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. I like cotton candy, but you can't just sit there and eat cotton candy because one, it's pure sugar, and two, it's also really sticky as well. So this is a perfect alternative. The flavor really brings back that throwback fruity vanilla vibe, and it's surprisingly smooth and super convenient. Small portable shot that you can throw in your bag and take it on the go if you need a little pick-me-up later. So bring on the sweetness with Cotton Candy 5-Hour Energy Shots, available online now at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. And there's nothing like playoff hockey live. The intensity, the rivalries, the crowd is just different. When you're in the building, playoffs are some of the best moments in sports, and being there in person is something every fan should experience. Game Time makes it incredibly easy to find tickets, even for those high-demand playoff games, in just a few taps. The Game Time guarantee, you're getting 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. The app is super easy to use. You can find tickets fast. Pricing is all in, so you can see exactly what you pay when you check out. There's no surprise fees. The zone deals are great as well. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save money. Plus, with the lowest price guarantee and ticket coverage, you'll feel confident every time you buy. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON that's LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, so where does Carson Wetsch fit kind of in with the Barracuda next year and kind of with the grand scheme of things? So Wetsch, I think, will adapt pretty well to the AHL lifestyle, like and playing in the AHL. Like I don't think there's going to be a huge ramp up because I think his skills are very translatable. Again, go get puck, hit things, retrieve puck, try to kind of crash the net and score that way. And get like Wetsch has plenty of skill as well, but I just think he's a hard-nosed player who will easily stand up for himself and stand up for other teammates. And again, I think is going to quickly become a fan favorite. And if you think about kind of with the Barracuda and you have some potential graduates, right? You think Phil Bissek, Quentin Musty are both guys who could be graduating here. And players like Cam Lund, who may stick around or may, graduate as well. And guys like Casper Holton, I think is going to kind of be in line for a bigger role next year and playing maybe kind of more top 6 minutes compared to bottom 3 or bottom pairing minute or bottom 6 minutes, excuse me. I think Wetsch can kind of slide into that third line role with the Barracuda, which I think is kind of the place for him to be, where, especially if he's playing with a center like Patrick Giles, who's also another kind of big, speedy wing center. Like you could see that line, those two guys kind of working really well together, especially if their job is to just forecheck, and try to get the cycle game going. And I think that's kind of where he fits in. And I wouldn't be surprised, especially with his speed, if it's not long until he is on the penalty kill as well. Again, with guys like Phil Bissek potentially, graduating. You think of Igor Chernyshov, who's getting a bunch of PK time, like he's going to be graduating. Like there's going to be some opportunities for him on the PK, and I think that's where he can really be an impactful player in the AHL. Eventually, is being on that, using his feet, using his size to create some havoc, especially at the point, and trying to create some breakaway opportunities for the Barracuda next year. Like it's a very easy path for him. So I think long term, especially with the talent that the Sharks have added, it's hard for me to kind of pencil him in anything more than a third liner, and even a third liner at this point might be a little bit hard to kind of crack into. So it's going to be very much on Wetsch and his development and kind of accepting this new role and this new life of you're not the guy anymore. You're going to have to kind of accept this more of a role and play your role very well. But I can very much see him playing that Barclay Goodrow role. And I'm not saying he's going to become Barclay Goodrow, but that role that you have for Barclay Goodrow of, he's going to maybe play like 10 minutes a night. He's going to be well respected in the locker room. He's going to play on the PK. He's going to, I think he's going to have a little bit more scoring pop than Barclay Goodrow does or did. Even if you think about kind of prime Barclay Goodrow, but I think that's going to be that kind of role where he's going to kind of play a very specific role. He's got the size, he's going to go in and forecheck. He's going to be kind of part of an identity line for the San Jose Sharks. And you think of, especially with a guy like Ostapchuk or, Teddy Mutrin or some of these other guys who are either there or kind of up and coming, you can kind of see, especially in the bottom 6 and especially that fourth line, what Greer wants that line to kind of be and that identity to them to be. And I think Carson Wetsch is 100% going to be that type of player where he's going to go out there, he's going to stick up for his teammates. I don't think he's going to be a liability or anything like that. And I think he's going to be a positive player on the fourth line. and he's going to provide you some, the occasional scoring pop. And I think he's going to be an excellent PKer for you at some point, just because of the way he moves and his size. And, I think he's going to be a guy who can score you a couple PK goals a season, or shorthanded goals a season. So, I think this was, I'm glad the Sharks signed him. Again, especially you had the deadline of June 1st to kind of get things done. And I think I think he's going to translate pretty well into the AHL, and I expect him to play NHL games here. Probably not next year, but, within the next year or two, I think you kind of, especially as a guy like Barclay Goodrow starts to phase out, I think this is one of your potential Barclay Goodrow replacements on that fourth line here. So, and especially when you start to spend big money up top with guys like Macklin, Celebrini, and Will Smith, and, all the other guys who will start to get paid here, having guys who are on inexpensive ELC contracts who can contribute on your fourth line, that's how you kind of save some money to get put towards your top end guys. I think Wetsch is one of those guys who I think will be easily kind of fit into his role, and I think accept his role very well. So that's going to be it. We'll be back tonight as we have another Thursday trade target team. So we'll talk about another team that I think the Sharks could be looking to make a deal with this summer. So make sure you follow along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and on TikTok at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole. Until tomorrow or tonight sometime. Bye, friends.